Let's get into this right now. We are live here on Hotep Ish, Intelligent Ish Talk, Intelligent Shit Talk, where we are here to talk about what racism is. What is it really? What is racism really? I'm going to start off here with an episode I did on Fox Soul describing what racism truly is. Listen up. Tell me if you can hear this.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Because they convolute ethnicity and race together. But truly, racism is defined as one race believing that another race is superior, inferior, based on characteristics that are inherent with that particular group, race.
Okay.
Hmm.
And Dwayne, based on your definition, why can't black people be racist?
Black people don't have the economic resources to be racist. Racism is a practice. Like when we can test this out, as a black person, I can't go to a white person and put them in jail off my word. I need another white person to validate my word. Now, a white person can go and say, hey, that black person did it, no matter how much money he has.
That's right.
And that black person can then go to jail. That's the ism. That's the practice of racism. Racism is the denial of wealth and resources based on skin tone and based on race. Race, at the end of the day, is something that's made up. It's not real.
Right.
And so the ism is a practice of something that is
Well, what
real.
about the wealthy black people then?
Well,
Are they included in that?
The wealthy black people are included in that.
Okay.
Bill Cosby's in jail by someone who looks like Steve Nash, and she didn't have any resources, and she put him in jail, whether he did it or not. And so I'm not here to say he did it or not, but
yes, that's a whole nother case. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know whether he did it or not, but what I'm saying is you saw someone with no power take down someone with power, versus when we look at some of these other people that we see out here with power, people that are black can accuse them and get them taken down without the validation of a white person to go with what they said.
Get him, Gwendolyn.
Okay, so based on what you're saying, that
That's my definition
black
of
people
what racism
can't
is.
be racist with one another.
Let's listen to
but if
what.
one-
Hold on. Let's listen to Dr. Claude Anderson's definition of racism. Person I got it from.
They basically say racism is a competitive relationship between groups of people who are competing for the ownership and control of resources. And once they get a sufficient amount of it, they then use it to shut another group down. That's racism. Racism never existed on this earth.
Hear that? Racism is about wealth and resources. Racism, another way Dr. Claude Anderson explains what racism is. Racism it was a race out of Europe. A race for the land, power, and resources of the world. It was a race to see who was going to control what, where, when, and how. When they left Europe, you had them going into what's now the Americas. It was Portugal first, Spain, and that's why the Americans all speak either Portuguese or Spanish. You know, then you had later the English, the British, the Germans, the Dutch, all of them at some point left that swamp called Europe and went somewhere. And when they left Europe, they were all raced out of Europe. They raced out because Europe was disease-ridden, had no resources, had nothing natural because they killed it all. And so they raced across the world to the lands that had everything, Africa, the Americas. Once they all raced out of Europe and got settled in, then they applied the ism to it. The ism is the practice of maintaining the wealth and resources gained when they left out of Europe. That's what racism is. Racism is a power dynamic. Racism is a power dynamic between groups to show who's going to run what shit. Who's running what? That's what racism is. We as black people can't be racist because we don't run shit but our mouth. We talk a lot of shit. You know what I mean? We say we gonna do a lot of shit, but we don't own shit. We can't really do nothing. So we can't be racist. We do not control the power dynamic. Here's an example that I use. Me personally, and I said it on that show I did on Fox Soul. They didn't like it, but fuck them. Because they're sensitive. I said, I don't like midgets. I don't. I don't like midgets because, hell, look. Midgets make me nervous. I'm tall. I had 2 knee surgeries. Every time I see a midget, I think he gonna headbutt me in the knees. And that fucks with my head. So I don't like midgets. But if I were a contractor, my dislike for midgets isn't gonna make me make doorknobs 7 feet tall. Got it? I'd be a midgetist if I was a person making all the doorknobs and making them too tall for little Tonto to get up there. They're playing, I can't reach. That would be fucked up. I wouldn't do that to little man. I wouldn't do that to you. Because I'm not a racist. Racism, what they did was they came and they took all the land, the wealth, the resources, and put them in a tree and put it up so high that you can't get to it. And then when you build a ladder to reach the wealth, their system comes in and cuts that ladder from right below your ankles. That's racism. That's what racism does. That's what racism is. So when people come to you and be like, is such and such racist? Is this racist? Did they deny resources, opportunities to people? That's why it always comes down to, like, when people always talk about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Are they racist? Hell yeah, both of them are racist, according to their records. I call Donald Trump a racist because he's had lawsuits where he lost, where he did not allow black people to move in his apartment buildings. That's the actions of a racist. You can't live here based on your color. On his little bullshit TV show, The Apprentice. I saw the first couple seasons, but you would see all the black people with good ideas always found a way to get snuffed out early. They didn't win nothing. It didn't matter how smart they were. That's the ism, the practice of it. It don't matter what your idea is. You black, so you're not going to win. Joe Biden. 1994 crime bill, the Biden bill. He made these big disparities. Well, we can go back to the 1984 bill he did with the crack. The laws, quote unquote, targeted crack dealers, but we all know what crack dealers means in America. One thing about America, this place speaks in code like a motherfucker. Code. That means, when they said crack, that means black people. That's what they mean when they say crack. Black people. That's the ism. What's racism? We can go back to Nixon and the war on drugs. There are audio files with Goldwater and Nixon talking about, I would call it the war on black people, but that would be illegal. So I'm going to call it the war on drugs. That's the ism. That's racism right there. I wish I could see y'all in the chat room. I really do. I really do, because I know y'all saying some shit and I can't get to y'all. I'm trying out a new program right here, and it is not going the way I thought it would. But we gonna work through this shit. We gonna work through this. Back to racism. Let's talk about what racism isn't. Racism isn't somebody not liking you. Let's get that shit clear right now. Racism is not somebody not liking you. It's not an emotional thing. There's no space for emotion when talking about racism. None. No space. Because when you get emotional, you can't think straight. We aren't smart when we're emotional. We aren't smart. We got to always be in the mode of thinking and seeing things for what it is. We got to always be in that mode. Racism is not about your feelings. It's not necessarily someone calling you the N-word either. Because most races, they're not going to say the N-word. Most races, let me say that again. Most races will never say the N-word. Richard Spencer, good luck hearing him say the N-word. It's probably never going to happen. But I'll tell you this much. Richard Spencer is going to spend all day. If you guys don't know who Richard Spencer is, he's the guy that was part of that Charlottesville rally a couple years ago where that white woman, Heather Heyer, got killed when they mowed her down for protesting in the streets against white supremacy. And, of course, nobody went to jail. No, Richard Spencer, none of the, if somebody got mowed down by a car at the Nation of Islam rally, every nigga up in there would have went to jail. And they mama, because of RICO laws. Let's just tell the truth. Racism is what we see here on our screens right now. What is this on our screens? Why do I have this up here? It's a construction site. It's a construction site. And at this construction site, notice what you see here. You see every color but black. I don't know if y'all grew up. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. I just remember at least seeing half the workers be black. Why is this important? These are the type jobs here that pay enough for people to afford the homes in the neighborhoods that they live in. You ever notice when you go around, I was in Vegas this past weekend. We were at the Venetian. And I noticed I did not see not one black person working. Not a maid, not a bartender, not a pit boss, not a dealer, not a one. Well, I'll take that back. I saw a few nigga security guards. they'll let us do security. Now they got them robots coming. They coming for them jobs next. That's racism. Racism is saying you can't get this job as slot machine installer because of the color of your skin. But you can't get that job doing security, a job that's never going to pay you enough money to buy a home in the neighborhood you grew up in. There's a connection between us as black people not being able to afford the homes in the neighborhoods we grew up in and what we see out there in the job market and the type jobs we get. If you're going to make it as a black person, you better be an entrepreneur or have a highly, highly, highly specialized skill. Because if you do what they told us to do growing up, if you're a millennial like myself, and they told the Gen Xers the same thing, go to college. Once you get that degree, the world's going to be your oyster. Until you realize, like I had to the hard way, you apply for a whole bunch of jobs, but they see a person named DeJuan Brown applying, and I don't get an interview. Don't matter that I had a degree or have a degree. My name is DeJuan. And you guys might be saying, how do you know it was your name? Do you really think it was your name? It could have just been you don't have the experience. I had 9 years experience banking at the time. College degree. Everything you wanted. Couldn't get an interview. So you know what I did? I went and changed my name to an alias. Don Brown, D-O-N. Not DeJuan, Don. Same resume. Don Brown got 9 interviews in 2 months. DeJuan couldn't get one single interview in 13 months. Don got 9 in 2 months. Problem is when they saw my 6'2", 300+ pound big ass walk up in there, they said Don's a nigga, and I didn't get the jobs. Because, like, at the time, I wasn't a person that was really into race like that. I had to go through these experiences to see what it is. Because I'm not the person that they always talk about. Well, you should have did it right. You should have did. No, I did all that shit. I got the degree. I got the experience. I got everything y'all told me to. But when they see DeJuan, oh, that's a nigga. Oh, DeJuan Brown? That's a double nigga. Didn't matter how good I was. That's racism. You want to know what racism is? Racism is this right here. This headline that we see on the screen right here. This is racism. Let me scroll this out. Let me scroll this in. Contract buying robbed black families in Chicago of billions of dollars. In Chicago during the 1950s and 60s, and let's just be clear, this happened nationwide. We're just talking about Chicago. Black people couldn't qualify for mortgages, so they had to buy houses on contract. Between 75% and 95% of homes sold to black families during the 1950s and 60s were sold on contract. The price markup on these homes sold on contract was 84%. African Americans who bought on contract paid, on average, an additional $587 in current dollars per month than they would have had they had a conventional mortgage. That's racism. Racism is the color of your skin being the primary reason that you're paying almost double on your house. We could take this to even more current times. I look at back in 2008 during that housing market crash. All those predatory loans that were given to specifically black people. I was doing loans at that time. We had that option arm, that's what they called it. Option arm. Person can have 3 years, 1.02% interest rate. Meaning we get you a house, and instead of getting you, I won't say we because I didn't do these loans. I knew what the fuck this was, and I wasn't about to do this to my people. But you get a house, and instead of getting a 30-year fixed or a 10-year fixed with some kind of an option after that, which where the payment may have been, say I'm throwing a number out there, $2,000 a month. We'll give you an option arm at 0.99% interest rate, and instead of paying $2,000 a month on this mortgage, you're only gonna be paying $800. Yeah, in 2 or 3 years, the loan's gonna re-amortize it, but look, the market will be good. You'll refinance it by then, but you get to save all of this money in the interim. Those loans were specifically pushed to black people. I know because we were there doing it. Those loans were meant for investors who were going to flip a property, not for someone who was going to move into a new house. So you had a lot of black people refinancing their homes in the mid 2000s and losing them because that rate hit, and your mortgage went from $800 a month to $3,200 a month, and you couldn't afford that. You think I'm bullshitting? The largest settlement in California history, one of the few good things Kamala Harris did was to settle with the banks and Countrywide, and because they were found specifically targeting black residents for these loans that were going to get them up out them houses. And now, yeah, they had to settle. A lot of people got settlements. I'm one of them because I got one of those mortgages with my house. But those people couldn't afford to get those houses back. So now they're all living on the outskirts of Southern California because of racism. These are some of the things some of the microaggressions that we deal with there's like a black tax, in America. Black people are taxed just for being here. You ever get a ticket? Go down to the courtroom. Any city you in. LA, we less than 10% of the population. But go to traffic court. We at least half of the people there. All of us ain't fighting our tickets. How can less than 10% of the population be half of the people in traffic court? Black tax. I told that story I think last week. Anytime I'm driving a nice car, that cop is for sure gonna hit a U-turn and pull me over to at least see what I'm doing. Black tax. That's racism. These are the things that we deal with on a daily basis. What's racism? Let's go here with it. Order of Nine Angels. An obscure Satanist Nazi group. Why am I bringing them up? There was that case last week. I don't know if you guys are paying attention and saw it, but there was that case last week where there was and this is about. There was a guy in a Satanist group that was planning on an attack on his own unit. In this article, I'm not going to read it word for word. I want you guys to look it up on the BBC. It's talking about how a lot of these groups, they infiltrate the military. And they get that military training. Then they go back and unleash havoc back in their neighborhoods and back on other people because of their color. Racism is the United States knowing about this and knowing these groups exist within the military and not prosecuting them. That's the ism. That's the racism. Back in 2002, 2008, and I think again 2011, the FBI warned that white supremacist groups were the number 2 threat to national security, and that white supremacist groups have successfully infiltrated law enforcement, the executive branch, the legal realm, all of it. Nothing was done. Now we're starting to see all of these lynchings going on out here. We're seeing how all these black people getting killed in these areas. You mean tell me there's cameras all over this country, all over the city, but black people are only being lynched in the 2 damn millimeters that aren't being covered by the cameras? Who knows that other than law enforcement? That's what we dealing with here in America. That's what racism is. Racism is a practice. Why do they need to maintain racism? Why do they need to maintain white supremacy? Let's talk about it for a little bit. Think about it, black people. If you can get a group of people that know how to make $1 out of 15 cents, and you get that group of people to continually work for you for free. And yes, we still working for them for free. Most comics don't get paid when they go on stage. When you look at the amount of money these NBA owners make in these TV deals, that money ain't coming out their pocket when they pay these cats. When you look at how much we get paid, like the amount of content that we put out and our influence, the fact that whatever young black boys between the ages of 14 and 24 influence the world profits off of it, and we just sitting around talking about, you need to go ahead and pull your pants up so you be accepted. You get that group and all that talent, and you ain't got to pay them, would you change it? Would you stop how things are? All right, cool. I got my chat room up. What's up, T.R. Jones in the chat room? Glad to see you. David Banner, as always, thanks for joining the chat room. I'm finally able to see some of y'all talk. I wish I could have been in earlier when there was more of y'all up in here, but damn it. It is what it is. Back to what we talking about here, racism, what it is, how it operates. You got a group of people that provides all this stuff, all this talent, and you ain't got to pay them shit. You're going to do anything you can to keep that system in control. And one of the main ways to keep that system in control is through violence. The reason why the police are able to basically be Gestapo units and shoot us at will and kill us at will is because that's the threat that makes them supreme over us in the context of this world that we're living in. When we say white supremacy, we're not saying that they're better than us, that these people are smarter than hell. Listen to music. Listen to how they bastardize jazz. We went from John Coltrane to Kenny G. We know they ain't that goddamn smart, so that's not what we're talking about when we say white supremacy. White supremacy basically means they have the ability to victimize us at their will, and we can't do nothing about it legally. Let's tell the truth. I was talking to somebody about this recently. They were talking about how, like, racists, they were really thinking, like, racism is just some emotional thing, like what we covered earlier, as if it's just something that people talk about and it's just a feeling. Like, no. Racism isn't that. Racism is laws. Like, the reason why white people beat our asses is because it was illegal to hit back. It wasn't because they was better fighters. Like, you guys got to understand that for hundreds of years, if a white person did something to a black person and the black person hit back, well, even through now, and the black person hit back, he would go to jail. So great-great-great-grandpa John Henry, he had a choice to make. Do I knock this motherfucker out, or do I just take this little L and go back home and raise my family? Y'all saw The Color Purple. What happened to Oprah? That was some real shit. You hit back, you go to jail. That was conditioned into us as a people. Cool thing I love about Generation X, the millennials, and Gen Z is we shaking that shit off. Y'all been watching these YouTube videos, and I think, here's another thing about it. These white folks, they forgot too. They really thought that they was like physically better than us. You saw what happened the first weekend in protest last month. Bow and arrow man, he tried it. Got his ass beat. You saw the white boy in Orange County was talking that shit to that black dude on the car. He got off the car. Boom! One hit a quitter. Out. You had Machete Man in Atlanta. This dude just finished playing Dungeons and Dragons. Thought he was Mega Man X. Pulled out a whole ass sword. Went down, swung it at the wrong group of niggas, and got stomped into a pretzel. That's who we are. When we fight back, we win. Racism was saying, look, niggers, you can't fight back. Matter of fact, you can't even own a gun. Because when we own guns, they wasn't really dealing with us like that too. Black Caesar, I'm sorry. Look up Black Caesar if you think I'm lying. Black Caesar, he actually has an island down there in Florida called Black Caesar Rock. They call it Black Caesar Rock because they didn't know they always got to cut niggas. They want to make it seem like it's just a rock. No, it's an island. Black Caesar was a pirate that was patrolled the Caribbean. And he used to go in and he would rob boats, and then he would take all the white women back to Black Caesar Island where his people would do what they wanted with him. Then he'd go back out and he fucking shit up. Well, back in the late 1600s, I forgot the year off the top of my head. I would have had this prepared, but I wasn't even going to talk about him. Black Caesar and Blackbeard got together, and they held up the Charleston Harbor for 30 days. And Black Caesar, with his big old long black shotgun and his big old black dick, walked up and down that harbor and up and down that city, and that scared the shit out of white people. And when they saw that black man with that long black shotgun hold up an American city for 30 days, they said, you niggas can't own guns. And those were your first sets of gun laws in America. Was because the black people had guns. Real talk. Same here in California. California was a wild, wild west. Before 1968, you can carry a gun. You can carry a gun into church. Carry a gun anywhere you wanted to. Until Bobby Seale, Fred Hampton, and those cats, and them Black Panthers started carrying them guns. Then Ronald Reagan was like, fuck this shit. Gun control. That's racism. All right? Let's go a little bit deeper. The United States needs to maintain this system because, I don't know if y'all know this, but Europe ain't shit. It wasn't shit when they left. It ain't shit now. Europe has an AIDS epidemic that's making Hollywood seem halfway normal. AIDS, disease, they have the Justinian plague going on at the time, Black Plague. Every plague you ever heard of, that shit was in Europe. You don't hear about no goddamn plagues in Africa. Not until later. The Bible talked about it, but that was a fictional story. Europe wasn't shit. All right? So when they got here to the Americas and they got us, they got the smartest human beings to build shit and do shit for them that we're still doing. Y'all see my Hotep-ish history breakdowns? Y'all know who Benjamin Banneker was. Benjamin Banneker. This place would have starved to death if it weren't for him and his Farmer's Almanac. He built Washington, D.C. and the roads and aligned it with the constellation Virgo. Benjamin Banneker, who was a free man, who was a Moor. Yeah, I always say freeman, but yeah, those are the Moors. The Moors were already here. We all know that. That's another topic. But you got these people who are highly intelligent doing all the work for you. You're going to do everything you can to maintain that system. How do they maintain this system of racism? They maintain it through a code of conduct. What's up, Aaron, in the chat room? Thank you for joining. Glad I get to see y'all talking now. I was flying blind the first half of this show. Thank y'all for joining it. And I can't see y'all on the YouTube chat room. I can only see on my second Facebook page because YouTube locked down my first Facebook page. Back to what I'm talking about. I'm over here putting up Facebook pages and shit. Racism is something that they maintain through a code of conduct. If you look at all these people, these quote unquote Karens, and I hate using that word Karen. I hate using that word Karen, and I don't like calling these people colonizers. Because calling them a colonizer, that's an affirmation for them. They like that shit. They like, yeah, I colonized you. And calling them Karens, no. But these Karens, I call Karens racist thugs because that's what they are. She's a thug. Karen is, oh, what's going on here? I got a little sound going on. Can y'all hear me? What the hell is that sound going on? Hold on. Let me fix this sound. Is that it? All right, cool. What the hell going on here? Hold on, let me fix this sound thing. There we go. All right, back to what I was talking about. These Karens, these thugs are the people who maintain the system of racism through their actions. If you notice, racists don't have a leader. Yeah, Donald Trump is a de facto leader. We all know the president, but they're not waiting on anybody. They enforce it themselves through a code of conduct. That's why we as victims of racism have to do what our father, Neely Fuller, says, and that's develop a counter-racist code. What's the counter-racist code? A counter-racist code is a code of conduct that it counters racism, that counters white supremacy through black empowerment. You don't fight white supremacy. You don't go around trying to show these motherfuckers that we just as good. No, that's a waste of goddamn time. You don't defeat white supremacy by being the exceptional Negro, by getting a college degree. HBCU grads, your degree don't mean anything. They don't care. Your education is not a threat. They're the ones who educated you. Why would they be threatened by the books they told you to read? Think about that. If it got approved from the university and the board of directors, it's going to be something that reinforces their system. Now they'll have a black person reading it to you, but that's what it is. So we have to develop a counter-racist code. What's a counter-racist code? A code of conduct that empowers black first. You're black, right? So that means black first means empower you as an individual. What are you doing through thought, speech, and action, through all the areas of activity on a daily basis to empower yourself? Let me look this up. pull it up. Nitty Fuller's 9 areas of activity. So I don't be guessing my way through this. This is from ProduceJustice.com. Nitty Fuller's book on a counter-racist code. What are the 9 areas of activities? Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war/counter-war. Let me read that again. Economics, how you spend your money, who you spend your money with. Education, entertainment. These are the 9 areas of activity that white supremacists and white supremacy, how they affect us in all these areas. These are the 9 areas of human activity. White supremacy is in economics. That's what we just finished covering with this whole bank thing. It's in education. That's why you were taught that basically Africa was nothing until the Europeans came around, and they don't even teach you shit about the Americas. They don't tell you nothing about all these pyramids that have been here in the Americas. They don't tell you nothing about the Iroquois treaty that the Constitution was stolen from. They don't tell you about all these dark-skinned natives, the Algonquin, the Mojave, the Gouda, the Geechee that were here. They tell you everybody came from somewhere else when the white people brought you. That's racism and education. Entertainment. Look on TV. Black AF with a whole bunch of mulatto motherfuckers. Black AF should be called Melungeon as fuck. Because it ain't nobody black as fuck in there. But that's part of the entertainment side of it. We see a show, but when's the last time you've seen an American-born, dark-skinned black woman who wasn't a coon on anything in TV? They'll put the mammies up. Gabby Sidibe, she's a mammy. Lizzo, that's a mammy. Y'all can like them. I'm not talking about their nothing. Yes, they may be smart people. Yeah, they're talented, blah, 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 blah. But they look like Aunt Jemima, and that's on purpose. Can you name one fly black woman that's intelligent and put together that they've put on out there for our entertainment after 2005? Think about it. When I think of the actresses that do have style and grace, whether you're talking about Nia Long, Halle Berry, you know what I'm talking about. She played everybody's mama. Still look good to this damn day. Angela Bassett. They all came back from the 1900s, last century. They haven't been introduced to you this century. There's a war on the image of the black woman and the black man. You don't see these images of black women who are looking. You don't see Claire Huxtables anymore. Think about it. If you're a 20-year-old black boy, the only images of black women that you see are tramps like Nicki Minaj, Cardi B. Or if they are black, they like mixed with everything else, like Tracee Ellis Ross. They're not really like foundational black American women. They haven't seen a Claire Huxtable, a black woman from here who's loving. They haven't seen an original Aunt Viv. They haven't seen a Harriet Winslow. Let's forget about her voice. Let's forget about Harriet Winslow's scratchy voice. She was a great mom. You haven't seen that. These kids haven't seen a straight black man. A Shaft. Ron O'Neal. A black man that's about his shit. That's with a deep voice. He don't raise his voice when a white person come around. You haven't seen that. The black kids, when they see black men, they either see coons like Terry Crews looking like a goddamn ape, apologizing for white supremacy, or a Billy Porter. in a dress. When they see kids, they see a whole bunch of mixed kids. Or if they see a black child, he's doing something bad, well, I'll tell you where they see black people, American born, on the news, doing something fucked up, doing something stupid. That's where racism hits the entertainment, the music. They cut out that good 70s style music. They cut out live music. They cut out classy people. And you get Tramp Fest on the radio. What's a tramp? Tramp ain't just women. Tramp is just a person that ain't right. They don't got their shit together. They just fucking up. A lot of male tramps. Matter of fact, just look at the top 20, and if it's a man and he's black and he's on the top 20, he's a tramp. I promise you. I'm not even looking at it right now. But I guarantee you, if he a black and he a man, he a tramp. That's where racism affects us. Labor. That goes back to the picture that we talked about earlier that I showed. This picture right here, labor. Black people have over 50% unemployment rate. Every major city around the country is Crane City. How many black employees do you see working those construction sites? How many black companies got contracts to build these high rises that we see? How many black companies have contracts to build these stadiums? How many black companies have contracts to repair your local freeways or your street system or your plumbing system or any of those city jobs and state jobs and federal jobs that get contracted out? You don't see black people getting those contracts. If a black company got contracts for 5 and 10 year contracts, do you know how many black people that means that they could hire? No, we don't get that. So black people got to work job to job to job while you got people who've been in this country less than 40 years getting the major contracts. That's racism through labor. Law. Do we even need to go there? Do we even need to go there? We see what goes on with law. We see what goes on with law. So I don't even think we need to go up in there. All the laws that made black being illegal. Hey, did you know the reason why, they going back to the Aunt Jemima thing, do you know the reason why black women have to wear scarves? The reason why they wore scarves back then was because in the 1700s in Louisiana, the men, they love black women's hair. And black women listening, y'all know I'm not lying. Y'all know I'm not lying. They still fetishize y'all hair. And what these white dudes would do, they would literally rape the black women that would, and then say it was her hair. I just couldn't get past her hair. And so they made it a law that if a black woman didn't want to be raped, she had to wear a scarf. Because if a black woman had her exotic hair exposed, that would basically make it okay for that white man to rape her. You know that, did you? The sixth area of activity, politics. Benign neglect policy. Democrats want to speak on that? We talked about the benign neglect last week. If you didn't listen, look it up. Benign neglect policy is basically what both parties have a policy of don't promise black people anything. Control the questions that they're able to ask. And when you answer them, give words to their plight, but offer no tangible solutions. Do we not see that? Both parties. Democrats and Republicans. They say, hey, look, we'll give you Juneteenth. They say, we'll give you, we will take these statues down. We say we want reparations. They say, what reparations? We say we want police punished. They say we're going to give you police reform. All police reform is just them giving police departments more money to spend. Funny how police reform, they don't need enough police reform to kill other groups, to not kill other people. Religion. Oh, yeah. We're going to have that. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a whole nother breakdown probably next week on nitty footers and what racism is. Religion's big. White Jesus. White Jesus. Church is all black, singing black music, taking 6 offerings, and a picture of, what's his name, Caesar Boyega. That was homie's uncle, the picture that they have of Jesus. We don't need to go any further than that. Number 8, sex. How is sex involved in white supremacy? Look at what's going on. Back there I was talking about Billy Porter, sex, sexual confusion, trans lives matter, all black lives matter. Ain't black lives matter enough? Why you got to throw all black lives in there and start talking about gay people and trans? Sex, that's sex. The only person that your sex matters to is who you fucking. If we over here trying to get reparations for black people, it don't matter who you fucking. If you black, you getting them. So why the hell you bringing up your sexual preference? I don't care. Sexual confusion. War, counter war. Racism is in war all day. Why is it in war? Look, we're in war right now. We're in a race war. This is a race war that we're in right now. Or the lines drawn on color. That's where the laws are drawn. The lines are drawn on color. Whether or not you get justice in this system depends on your color. Even when you black. When you black person get killed, quote unquote, by another black person, you may not get justice. And that's why I'm always questioning that whole Chicago thing. A black person killed by another black person. If y'all didn't catch nobody, how the fuck y'all know they got killed by a black person? And speaking of Chicago, always remember this. Chicago is just a proxy for black people. Whenever they're talking about Chicago, they're talking about black America. It don't matter how much money you got, it don't matter where you live. When they're talking about what's wrong with Chicago, they're basically saying what's wrong with you niggas. That's the world we're living in. That's racism. We need to develop a code. And our counter-racist code is in all 9 areas of these activities. We empower black first. Black first means yourself first. Just as they tell you when you're flying, you can't save your partner on the plane until you save yourself. You got to put your oxygen mask on. You got to build yourself up spiritually, mentally, financially, emotionally. You got to make yourself strong. And then once you make yourself strong in those areas, the extra that pours out, you pour into your people. It's part of why I do what I do right here. My company, Breakthrough Advocacy Services. It's me pouring into my people. It's me pouring in to my people. You got to pour in. And everybody can't do it. Don't have the time to do it like I do it. So if pouring in means donating $10, $25 a week somewhere to somebody that's doing something good and positive for black people, support them. You empower, you ask yourself, okay, is this thing that I'm doing right now, is it going to empower my group? You got to ask yourself that question. That's what black first means. Black first means you're empowering yourself, you're empowering your group. It means that if you're an actor or actress, are you going to take that role or do those things that make your group look weak? You got to ask yourself that question. Is it empowering or no? Are we going to say things about each other and to each other to outside groups that aren't empowering, or are they empowering? These are the things that we got to do to counter racism. Spend with one another. Give to one another. Support one another. And that starts with yourself and your family. We good at forgiving folks, white folks and cops that murder us. How about we start giving our family that same benefit of the doubt? We know our family members are fucked up. We all fucked up. Let's forgive ourselves. And then there are certain people that you're going to forgive and have to let go. Because look, I forgive a lot of people, but some of these niggas just ain't coming with us. We all know who they are. Look, if you got a blonde weave, you probably ain't going to make it. All right? Something about black women in blonde weaves. Just something about the energy that come along with them. She probably not going to make it. Niggas that buy Gucci belts and Gucci shoes, they probably not going to make it. They're probably not going to make it. But you still forgive them and love them, but you might just have to do it from a distance. These are some suggestions I have on countering racism. I'm talking a little shit along with it. This is Hotep-ish. Join me back again probably tomorrow. I think tomorrow, if not Saturday. I'm going to do a breakdown on Breakthrough Hour here on the same YouTube channel, breakthroughas.org, where we're going to be talking about tips and tricks on raising your black child in a racist environment. Go to hotepish.com for your t-shirts. Join the email list for news and updates as to what we're doing over here. And remember this, racism is something that wasn't built overnight. It's not going to end overnight. But if a critical mass of us take on the task of empowerment, it'll happen. We'll knock it over. It ain't impossible. These people ain't shit. The system ain't shit. We just got to stand up. We've allowed the system to stay on our backs because we've been bent over. All we got to do is stand up. And poof, it'll be gone. My name is Dewan B. Thank you for listening. DewanB.com, hotepish.com, breakthroughas.org. And remember this, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages for those who are willing to pick up game. Thank y'all for listening through all my technical difficulties. We out.